The NFL is absolutely cracked right now. Let me tell you guys all about it on this edition of the Shumake Take. Let's get it. All right, and welcome in everybody. Hope you're having a fantastic, fantabulous, awesome freaking day. My name is Garrett Shumake, and you are listening to the Shumake Take. This is episode number 25, and as you can tell in the thumbnail and in the intro of this video, the NFL is absolutely cracked, dude. I don't know what is happening these past couple weeks in the NFL, but oh my god, it has been insane after insanity after insanity. So insane I can't even talk right now. I had this entire plan about how I was going to start this show, and it's already falling off the tracks. Talking about insane football is one of my biggest passions. Obviously, that's why I do the show. But today, it is going to be a good episode. But before we begin, just wanted to show off, wearing the Nintendo hat today. This shirt, repping the 2009 Pro Bowl shirt. I got it at a thrift shop one day. If you want to take a look at the back of it real quick, I'm going to throw a picture on screen right now. It's a pretty cool shirt. The back is pretty darn cool, if I do say so myself. And yeah, the NFL Pro Bowl died, in my opinion, when the NFL stopped doing the Pro Bowl in Hawaii. Sorry, the Pro Bowl in Hawaii is where it's at. It was awesome. It was great. Or no, the Pro Bowl died when they stopped doing the AFC and NFC for a couple of years. That's when the Pro Bowl died, probably. Yeah, that's when the Pro Bowl died, most definitely. But we're here not to talk about the Pro Bowl. Currently, at this point in time, before we start with Thursday Night Football, the Sunday night football game between the Eagles and the Rams is going on right now. It's currently 27-14. Near the end of the third quarter, Kenneth Gainwell just got a huge touchdown run. I got the score pinned to my screen, so we'll keep track of it. You and me together. Well, you guys already know what happened, but I'll be keeping track of it and giving you guys updates as the game goes on. Currently, the Eagles just asserting their dominance in the run game. But we got to start at Thursday Night Football. We got to go all the way to the beginning. And the Cleveland Browns beat the Pittsburgh Steelers 24-19. The Browns get a massive upset win over the Steelers in chilling fashion. Why do I say chilling? Because we got our first freaking snow game of the year, dude. It was a perfect precursor. It was a perfect precursor to all of Sunday's games. Because look, snow games are simply the best in football. They're simply the best. There's nothing that gets any better than that. Because football throughout the year is just hot, rain, weather delay here and there, hot. Nice weather today, windy. It's the same thing. Snow games are just different. Not because they're literally different, because the atmosphere is so much better. Here's the thing. If I was a fan in that stadium, I'm not a Browns fan or a Steelers fan, but even just to be in that stadium, if I was in that stadium, close game, under the lights on prime time, and it just starts snowing. I probably would legitimately lose my mind. Because as a person who's never seen snow and I've always wanted to see snow so bad, oh my god. That would be an experience to remember. It's on my bucket list to go see a football game at every home stadium or every stadium and be a fan of that team for a day. And it's on my bucket list to go to the December game in Lambeau Field. Hopefully in prime time where it's stupid cold and the snow is just pouring down. That's a game I really would love to go see. That's on my bucket list. But going back to the Steelers and the Browns, here's the thing. The big takeaway from this game is that the offenses really didn't change all that much. Normally when you see snow games or obviously heavy weather, rain, whatnot, the running game starts to become a little bit more prevalent, and it still had its place in this game, but these teams were throwing the ball. The Browns did not let up. The Steelers did not let up. And now, to be fair, they happened later on into the game. It's not like it was there for a super duper long time. But here's the thing. It's still very interesting that even in, is intense the right word for weather conditions for snowing? Not really, but adverse weather conditions. I should say that. That's a good word for it. in adverse weather conditions, their offenses really didn't change, which is interesting because even in games where it's been raining, there's been still a lot of passing compared to what it's been even a decade ago, which is a thing, kind of a, when you look at the times, oh yeah, the NFL's become more of a passing league, blah 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 blah. That makes sense, fine, but it's still an interesting observation actually watching a snow game. Now that I'm really getting into the weeds of watching games in the NFL, really getting to see it on TV was kind of an interesting observation, interesting thing to look at, in my opinion. But the other thing that made this game really awesome was the chaotic fourth quarter. Look, the Browns got multiple turnovers. They had a lead in this game. They lost the lead for a little bit. There was a bunch of critical drops, miscues, and the same thing is after that, each team would make some type of huge play out of nowhere. And it was just, you were on the edge of your seat. You were on the edge of your seat, excited because you did not know what was going to happen next. Whether it was good or bad for your team, you had no idea what was going to happen next. But we got to start, when we were recapping these games, we got to start with the winning team, in this instance, with the Cleveland Browns. And here's the thing, the Browns aren't going anywhere this year. But look, next year, you have to re-sign Jameis Winston. Not just for the fact that he's a decent backup quarterback, but the dude brings so much energy. He brings so much energy and so much passion to the game that it's toxic. It's infectious. I mean, what type of player, talks how he talks, halftime press conference, post-game presser, and then after the post-game presser, goes back outside with the Thursday Night Football crew and starts playing in the snow? Who does that? No one does that except for Jameis Winston. It's his world, and we're just living in it. He gives off main character energy. This dude is living his life to the absolute fullest. You can see it in his play on the field. You can see it off the field, especially. Jameis Winston has been up and down this year since becoming the starter for Cleveland a few weeks ago. But at the same time, it doesn't matter. He's going to come at you with the same intensity, that same energy every single time. And as I said, it's infectious. It's awesome. And seeing him get a win in this moment really made me happy for him, and really made me happy, just to watch it and really get to experience it. Because there's no better player for that to happen to, right? Give the guy with a ton of energy, give him a reason to go out into the snow and play in the snow. Come on. That's a recipe for success, in my opinion. But that's not all. Nick Chubb didn't really do well in this game, but he had a really big emotional touchdown run, broke a couple of tackles, got in to take the lead one last time for Cleveland, ended up being the game-winning touchdown. And along with that, Jerry Jeudy was very reliable, especially in the fourth quarter. He was Jameis Winston's go-to target, and at that point, it was just a done deal. The Steelers just could not stop Jerry Jeudy and Jameis Winston at this point in time. And defensively for Cleveland, Myles Garrett led the front, 3 sacks tonight. Really hasn't had the year that he really hasn't wanted. Oh my God, I can't speak. Myles Garrett hasn't had the year he's wanted to have. But look, Thursday night was his night. That was an insane performance. He got pressure all game long. He was everywhere. You didn't go long without hearing his name mentioned, that's kind of a signification of having a really, really good night. And Myles Garrett went out there, had a good night. And for Cleveland, the big takeaway from them is adversity. They had multiple turnovers in the fourth quarter. It started snowing. The recipe for the Steelers to come back and win was right there written on the wall. And they said, nope, they grabbed the brush, they grabbed the Dawn dish soap, and they just started scrubbing it off the wall. They scrubbed it off, held on, ended up winning the game at the end. And for Pittsburgh, this loss for them, it stinks. It stinks a lot. But barring something crazy, the Steelers are about locked in for a playoff berth. They're 8-3, 1 win away from securing a 9-win season and securing a winning season at that, which continues Mike Tomlin's streak, by the way. Good for him. But there is something to look to this game as, you lost a divisional game, which obviously that hurts more than just a traditional loss. But at the same time, Lamar Jackson and the Ravens are right behind him. And winning this game against the Cleveland Browns, who are not a very good football team, this is the game where you start to separate yourself from Baltimore, who's been struggling the past month or so. So allowing them to kind of stay in the thick of it right behind you, your margin for error gets a little bit more thinner. It gets harder. Because now if you screw up again, it's possible the Ravens can overtake you and beat you again. I think these two teams still have another time where they face each other this year. So it's very possible. Is it week 17 these two teams play? I think it is. No, the Ravens still have to play the Browns, so that could be the final game. But the next time these two teams play again, it's going to be for the division, but more than likely. So if the Steelers want to keep that stronghold, they got to win out. They got to keep winning games and hope Baltimore loses one until they can get ahead and stay ahead and not let the Ravens hang around. But this game, though, overall, for the team overall played well. Russell Wilson was pretty darn good. He had 21 for 28, 270 yards. He had a touchdown. Jalen Ward, Najee Harris were duoing it out. They didn't have big numbers by themselves, but together they had almost 90 yards. They were effective. They were producing. And that is where Pittsburgh is at their best. We've talked about this before. Arthur Smith loves to run the football. And when you run the football well in Pittsburgh, it helps everything. It helps your passing game build itself. It allows Russell Wilson to get to George Pickens. It allows him to get to Calvin Austin, who had a big touchdown in this fourth quarter and gave the Steelers the lead at that point in time. And defensively, you did your job. TJ Watt didn't have the best game that I think he would want to have, but you were there. You were in the thick of it. It just kind of broke down late, and they just couldn't get it done, which, as I talked about, it stinks. And for Baltimore, you're smelling blood in the water because right now, the AFC North between these two teams, it is getting very, 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 very tight. And we will see who comes out on top here in the next few weeks or so. Moving on to our next game on the list, the Tennessee Titans defeating the Houston Texans 32-27. Titans get a massive upset and make a statement for their organization and leaving Houston's with more questions than answers. Starting with the Tennessee Titans, Will Levis, the quarterback, 18-24, 278 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he played really well today. He played really, really well. Of course, it wasn't perfect. The interception to Jimmy Ward, it was a pick six. It was absolutely terrible. It was a terrible throw. Had 8 sacks in this game. Of course, 7 of them were in the first half, and then they only allowed 1 in the second, which big bounce back performance for them off for the offensive line. And what makes this offense work is when their stars do well. Now, here's the thing. That's a very much of a blanket statement, but for Tennessee, it has been only Tony Pollard the entire year. And the past few weeks, Calvin Ridley has finally stepped up and has played well. But it's not just them. Chigakonkwo, the tight end for the Tennessee Titans, had a 70-yard touchdown in this game. Right after the pick six, Levis goes out there, throws that. Chigakonkwo, who's a tight end, by the way, outran multiple players in the secondary. He's a very talented player. It's never seemed like he could get anything going consistently over there. And then, of course, there was a bunch of big plays. Calvin Ridley had a 63-yard catch. Nick Westbrook-Akine had a 38-yard touchdown catch in this game. And defensively, Jeffrey Simmons and rookie defensive tackle T'Vondre Sweat both had critical sacks in the fourth quarter. They drove C.J. Stroud out for a safety that ended the game. I also want to shout out Titans rookie corner Jarvis Brownlee Jr. He was a late-round pick in the draft, and he's been playing really, really well for them. Not spectacular, but for a rookie, he's been playing pretty darn good. And you look at some of his numbers on Pro Football Focus, you look at him and look at the game. He got an interception today. He got his first career interception. But he occasionally will get burned against the top receivers, but then he'll come back and he'll make a huge play. 3rd down and 19. C.J. Stroud rolling around the pocket, trying to buy time. Finds an open Tank Dell, has it in his hands, but Jarvis Brownlee comes in late last second to punch the ball out and force the incompletion. Stuff like that. Jarvis Brownlee Jr. is everywhere. And no matter if the ball goes near Jarvis Brownlee Jr., he is going to be on the ball within 0.5 seconds. He is going to be right there on the ball. And a lot of these late round rookie corners in the NFL are doing really well. The rookie corner in San Francisco, he's doing well. San Rastrill, the corner in Washington, I at least think he's doing pretty good despite the circumstances. Then Jarvis Brownlee Jr. is doing well. Cam Hart for the Chargers is doing really, really well. So it's nice to see there's a lot of late round picks kind of showing out this year in the secondary, because normally like the secondary late round picks are kind of, those are picks that are not as likely to hit. So to see multiple look like they're hitting early on and you're seeing success, you're getting value out of them for these teams, that's awesome. That's really freaking cool. But for Tennessee, going back to them, they overcame adversity too in this game. They weren't perfect. Tony Pollard had a fumble in this game. There was a special teams fumble by the punt returner. Levis with the pick 6. Special teams overall, terrible. It's been terrible all year. They had 8 sacks in this game, 7 in the first half. But you look at Tennessee and you look at this football team. They're 3-8 right now. They're not a good football team. There's no denying that. There's no doubting that. There's no arguing that. They're a bad football team through and through. But you look at these players. You look at what this team is putting on the field. What are they doing? They still got fight. They are still fighting every game, every down. And I'm going to talk about it with some of these teams like the Giants, the Raiders, some of these other bad football teams, and even teams with rookie head coaches that are doing really bad. You look at players and they're checked out. They can tell that they're giving up. You can tell that they're quitting. And while Tennessee really hasn't quit at all, they really haven't quit. But what happens is the Tennessee Titans, they make mistakes and then they compound those mistakes with more mistakes and they end up losing the game by shooting themselves in the foot. And they shot themselves in the foot plenty of times in this game, but they didn't let that stop them. They didn't let that compound them. And seeing how hard these players fight and seeing them overcome that adversity, that tells me that the Tennessee Titans are doing the right thing. They might have the right head coach and Brian Callahan. They're doing the right things in the organization to make things different. And we're going to talk about it more with Carolina here a little bit when we talk about them in the Chiefs game, which, by the way, kind of a little bit of a spoiler. Oh, man, that was nuts. By the way, Tennessee gets a massive upset win. Good for them. I had it down here questioning if they were going to be like some type of second half resurgence team. I don't think so. That's not really going to happen at this point. When you're 3-8, you're 3-8 for a reason. But here's the thing. The Titans offense has put together 3 straight weeks of good play, where it's been inconsistent all year long to this point, pretty much bad overall. To see them put 3 games together of really good offensive football and complement this defense that's been really solid for them. It's not been great, but it's been pretty darn solid, if I do say so myself. It's, this is looking like a team that's going to be tough. This team is going to be tough to beat come later in the year, and they are going to be playing spoiler multiple times, I think. I don't think they're going to go on some insane run. That's not going to happen. But they're not a team that you're going to want on your schedule because they are going to give them their all, right? Yeah, they're going to give them their all. They're going to lay it all out there. And I don't know, when you're a team that's looking to get into the playoffs, you're going up against them. They're going to give you a run for your money. At this point, that's what it's looking like. But going to Houston should have won this game. They were in this game all the way. But how? How does the Houston Texans lose a game against the lowly 3-8 Tennessee Titans? Well, I'll tell you what happened. Penalties. Offensive line and their penalties are terrible. Laremy Tunsil, it gets a holding call or a false start every single week, it feels like. The interior offensive line is terrible. The secondary is not that great outside of Derek Stingley Jr. It's very vulnerable. It's very inconsistent. And those are the kind of the 3 things that have been the Achilles heel of the Texans all year long. And then you get CJ Stroud throwing 2 interceptions that were on really bad throws. You get Joe Mixon being shut down, only 22 yards off of 14 carries. The engine of the offense got completely neutralized, and everything on offense fell apart for the most part. And that's why when I talked about Tennessee possibly upsetting Houston, this is why. Because running the football, the Titans have Jeffrey Simmons, one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL, and T'Vondre Sweat, who's a rookie, but he's 370 pounds. He got his first career sack today, and he literally threw Shaq Mason on his butt. He got double teamed, and then moved to one guy and threw him down, and then got a sack. Of course, the 2 big men are going to destroy the interior offensive line for Houston. That's where the Titans strong. It's one of their strong suits on their entire team. So that the matchup there, and then with Ridley getting heated up, with Tyler Boyd and Nick Westbrook-Akine starting to do things, there was an opportunity there to take advantage of his secondary, and they took advantage of it. And they got the upset. So the bad things for Houston came back to haunt them in this one. But getting into some good though, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, they're really good. They were good in this game. They've been good all year practically when they've been healthy on the field. There's been no issue there. And defensively, Daniil Hunter had 3 sacks. Will Anderson had 2 sacks. They had 5 sacks combined. Obviously, the pass rush was excellent all game long, even into the second half. Even though they only got 1 sack, they were still getting after Levis all game long. The linebackers were flying. They were all over the football. It's just the secondary kept on getting burnt over the top over and over again. And for Houston, they're looking fraudulent right now. Very, very fraudulent, because last week when I talked about them only having 2 games where they, beat an opponent by a certain number of points, every other game has been within like 3 points. It has been like 3 to 6 points. It's been very, very close. And I don't know. It was another close game that the Houston Texans lost. They cannot keep getting in these close games, especially against bad football teams like they have for the better part of this year. And I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Houston. It goes to show that they had an overrated offseason. I mean, I was kind of patient, or telling people to be patient and kind of pump the brakes, because what they did last year was improbable in something that doesn't happen very often at all. So expecting it to build up and get even better was kind of, I don't know, that kind of felt like a trap. And so far, it has been a trap. This team does not look like the Houston Texans team last year. They look undisciplined at times. They look unsure of themselves. They have ups and downs. While last year's Houston team had their fair share of ups and downs, it got better. It improved. And these aspects I keep talking about with Houston week after week, they're not getting better. And in some cases, they keep getting worse, because now penalties are happening at more critical moments. Big plays are happening at more critical moments. And for Houston, for a team that, is going to win their division and make the playoffs, at this point, are the Houston's a playoff team because they're an actual playoff team, or is it because they're they're a decent team in a bad division? The AFC South overall has been absolutely terrible at the moment. The Texans are 7-4. Right? Or no, they're 7-5 now. They have 7 wins alone. The rest of the AFC South combined has 10 wins. That goes to show. I mean, they have 70% of the wins matched up on their own. Oh, microphone decided it was going to try and bail from me for a second. But for Houston, this sucks. This loss sucks big time. For Tennessee, this is a win that they needed, because they've been fighting every week. They've been losing a bunch, and so for them to get a huge win on the road against a divisional opponent, that does a lot for an organization and for a football team. Next up on the list, though, the Minnesota Vikings defeat the Chicago Bears 30-27 as my script continues to begin to falling over. By the way, quick update for the Eagles and Rams game is still 27-14 with 13 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, give or take. And the big takeaway from the Vikings and Bears game, new kicker John Parker Romo kicking the game-winning field goal in overtime, and further rattling the Bears as their season continues to spiral out of control. This game was back and forth. This game went up and down, field goal for field goal, trading there for a while near at the end, and it went all the way down to overtime, nearly 2 minutes to go. And we almost had a full overtime going, which is insane, because that doesn't happen very often. But for the Minnesota Vikings, how did you get here? How did they get to this point? Well, Sam Darnold had 330 yards, 2 touchdowns. Aaron Jones had 106 yards and a touchdown. Justin Jefferson had only 27 yards in this game off of 2 catches, which is not great. But then you get TJ Hawkinson to go for 7 catches for 114 yards. You get Jordan Addison to have 162 yards and a touchdown. You get other players, your star players, to step up. And while Justin Jefferson's been like the go-to guy the entire year, Addison and Hawkinson really haven't had their big games yet. And this was their big game. In a big moment too. Chicago should have won probably last week against Green Bay. So against another divisional opponent, and you bet your butt they were going to go after it the entire time. Because Caleb Williams, he put up another good performance. He had 340 yards, 2 touchdowns, and this is like the second game in a row where Caleb Williams is not only is playing some of his best football so far in his rookie season, it feels like he's almost carrying the team on his back. It feels like, the running game is not working. What a difference a week makes, right? Vikings have the best run defense in the NFL. However, it's crazy because Caleb Williams in these moments he's putting up really good numbers, but now the team is starting to let him down. Before, it seemed like, they were in it, they were winning. Even when Caleb Williams wasn't doing his best, the rest of the team was backing him up. But now that Caleb Williams is playing better, the rest of the team isn't playing up with him. So it's an interesting switch that I'm seeing happening for Chicago. And while their season is definitely on the ropes at this point, it's almost over at this point for them in terms of making the playoffs, you have to at least feel comfortable if you're a Bears fan about Caleb Williams getting better every week. And you look at this game where you see DJ Moore doing good things in this game. You see Keenan Allen doing good things. Roman Dunze had his own fair share. He had a decent day. And then Cole Kmet doing things. For the first time all year, the Bears, offense and their top pass catchers really were all doing well in a game for once. And that's part of the reason why the Bears had so much hype, was because of the skill position players around Caleb Williams. So while it's not good, looking at the team lose and their season's probably over just about, who they face Detroit on Thanksgiving, this is probably what's going to do them in, honestly. But you have to feel comfortable knowing that Caleb Williams in this offense is slowly getting better and that they got the right pieces. I think they have a franchise quarterback on their hands, potentially. I like what they added. I like Roman Dunze. I like Keenan Allen. I like Cole Kmet and DJ Moore. I love this group of pass catchers, and DeAndre Swift, I like him too. He's a good player. It's just you got to get this offensive line right. You got to revamp this defense a little bit, get some more talent in here, and this team could be good to go. This team is, roster-wise, they're moving in the right direction. They have star players at your most important positions. You have Caleb Williams, obviously, DJ Moore and company at receiver. You have Braxton Jones at left tackle, who hasn't been great so far this year. But you know what? He hasn't been the big issue on the offensive line, so there is that. Darnell Wright at right tackle, which is fine and dandy. You have Jalen Johnson at corner. Montez Sweat at edge rusher. You have really good players at, the most important positions in football right now. So that's good. The players are good. It's just you need to get better coaching. You got to revamp some of the holes on your roster, especially on the interior offensive line. And I think this team is going to be ready to go next year. This team is probably going to be a playoff team that come next year. I believe that, unless the rookie head coach is a rookie head coach and he, and is a little shaky, which is possible. But next year, I'm really excited. I would really be excited for the Chicago Bears, for them. But for now, it's a really bad loss. Tough loss in overtime. What was it? Oh, yeah, I think I forgot. Yeah, the Bears kicker, Eddie Pinheiro, he had another blocked kick in this game. Are you kidding me? The Bears have a special teams issue too now. You can't have back-to-back weeks blocked. And they even recovered an onside kick too to go bring this game to overtime. They did that in this game, and they still lost. Seems close. They seem so close, yet they seem so far away. Down here. Now we got to get to I wouldn't say this is the best game of the week, but man, how the fourth quarter happened in this game, it's got to be considered. The Dallas Cowboys defeated the Washington Commanders 34-26. Cowboys winning a thriller of a game and get a victory that they really, really needed, while Washington drops 3 straight, and the Kingsbury effect seems to be in full swing. The name of this game, though, the big takeaway was special teams. Listen to this. The first game in the Super Bowl era where there has been 2 missed PATs, 2 kickoff returns for a touchdown. There was a blocked punt. Along with that, there was a blocked field goal. Brendan Aubrey missed another big kick. Where is it down here? Is it Wanye Thomas? I think that's the name. Wanye Thomas had a kick return touchdown. Kavontae Turpin had a huge kickoff return for a touchdown. Let me explain to you guys what happened in this game. So, the Cowboys are up by 2 scores. The Commanders, They drive down the field. They get a touchdown, get a 2-point conversion. They make this thing a 3-point game. And then immediately after that, they kick off to Kevontae Turpin. Kevontae Turpin fumbles the football, picks it up, starts running, makes a nasty spin move, making 3 people miss, and then just runs it all the way to the house and makes it a 2-score game immediately. And then the Commanders, later on in the game, 33 seconds left, get an 82-yard touchdown to Terry McLaurin, 1 point away from tying the game. Absolute miraculous play. You know, it felt like Washington and Chicago all over again. That happened a few weeks ago. That miracle Hail Mary, right? And they go up to line up the extra point. The holder botches the snap, and then the kicker sends it wide left. They send it wide left. Like, are you kidding me? Is that really how that should have ended? And then they go to line up for an onside kick, and then immediately gets picked up and recovered for a touchdown by Dallas. Like, you can't make this up. There was over 30 points scored in this fourth quarter alone. Like, in the beginning of the fourth quarter, like a quarter of the way through the fourth quarter, it was 10-9. It was 10-9, and the game ended up being 34-26. How insane is that? When I talk about the NFL being on crack, this is what I mean. This game was improbable. This is a game where, like, you watch the fourth quarter. This is one of the greatest, like, back and forth, like, fiascos I've ever seen in my entire life. Literally 1 minute, I'm yelling because, oh my God, the Cowboys just made an insane play. And then after that, I'm yelling because Jaden Daniels throws an 82-yard touchdown with 33 seconds left, and Terry McLaurin outruns everybody. Like, what is happening, dude? What is happening? Why does the NFL have to be so freaking good, dude? This is why the NFL is the best sport in the world. I'm sorry. I'll debate that. I'm sorry. I'm a biased football fan, but you know, I will go to war over that. The NFL is literally just the best sport in the world because you truly never know what is going to happen. And that's why this game was so good. But getting into the game specifically for each team, we'll start with the Cowboys here. Oh my God, I was starting it as if they were losing. No, they won. Here's the big thing for Dallas. Cooper Rush, he played really well in this game. He had 247 yards, had a couple of touchdowns, very effective, very efficient. But why was he? Because first off, the offensive line was good today. They gave him time to throw. They only allowed 1 sack overall. And along with that, Rico Dowell, 19 carries, 86 yards, 4.5 yards per carry. They did it. They finally had a game this year where they could run the freaking football. They finally did it, dude. We've been waiting for it all year long. And people talked about going into the year, having Zeke Elliott as your starting running back is not a good idea. And guess what? It's been nothing short of a disaster all year long. And they finally they get something going. Which, you know, I came to learn that their offensive coordinator recently was Brian Schottenheimer, and Brian Schottenheimer is a very run-heavy philosophy guy, even though he's not the play caller. Mike McCarthy is. But I mean, still, you know, it's kind of weird. Like, it's anything. Mike McCarthy too. He's part of the Schottenheimer coaching tree, so it's really weird that like they can't run the football. The Packers, when McCarthy was there, obviously the offense went through Aaron Rodgers in the passing attack, but they could run the football, dude. You remember like prime Eddie Lacy? You guys remember that? That was awesome. And then they had like a running back by committee approach later on in those last years in Green Bay, but they were still effective at running the football. You know, Aaron Jones in his prime, right? Then A.J. Dillon was there. Jamal Williams was there. Like, they've always been able to run the football well, but I don't know. McCarthy, they just can't. I just realized Mike McCarthy didn't coach A.J. Dillon, did he? No, he didn't coach A.J. Dillon. Did he even coach Jamal Williams? He had to. No, I don't even think he coached Aaron Jones because he was fired in 2018. Yeah, because the Packers hired LaFleur in 2019. Yeah, well, never mind then. But I mean, the point still stands. You know, Mike McCarthy and Brian Schottenheimer both come from the Marty Schottenheimer tree, which runs the football a lot. So that kind of still, my point still kind of stands here. But you know what? That's what part of the reason why they won, because their offensive line was working. They were able to run the football. And defensively, Micah Parsons went nuts. He had 2 sacks in this game. He was always in the game. Oh, by the way, guys, 9:44 in the fourth quarter. Eagles up 30-14 on the Rams. Things are not looking very good in LA right now. Looks like the Eagles are really starting to impose their will running the football like they were in the first half. I'm assuming it's going even more so right now. For the Cowboys, as I said, Micah Parsons was great in this game. Chauncey Golston, the defensive lineman, got an interception off of Jaden Daniels. A pretty big play. It was pretty awesome, in my opinion. You got to love big man picks, am I right? And here's the thing. The Cowboys lost 4 straight games. They finally played together for the first time. They played complementary football. Their offense and defense were finally able to help each other out when they needed help, and they were both able to do good things in this game that led them to a win. And I don't know, for Dallas, I mean, your season's over, but this is the win you guys needed. You needed this win because you guys are going to finish with a top 10 pick in the draft regardless. But for the players and for the coaches, you really just need this win. Really kind of helps you reassure that, hey, you know what, we can still do some things. We can still compete. And for the Commanders, things are getting very interesting. Getting into the players, Jaden Daniels, he had 275 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had 2 interceptions. One of them was at the end of the game at the Hail Mary, whatever. Like, that does not really count. And then he had 74 yards and a touchdown. So, I mean, he overall had a pretty good day. But you look at running the football, this team could not run the football at all outside of Jaden Daniels. Austin Eckler, Brian Robinson, they both got hurt. Just want to say that Austin Eckler was put into the hospital. He suffered a big hit at the end of the game, returning a kick. I hope he's okay. I can't remember if they said he was released yet or not. But either way, I hope he is okay. It was a very scary hit. He was down for a while. But defensively for Washington, the defense has been the Achilles heel of this team. And I've talked about it over the week or over the course of the year. The Commanders' defense needs to find a way to get better. Because come playoff time, teams are going to give you everything you got. And if you can't have a defense that's going to help complement your offense when they're being really tested and struggling for the first time all year, really, and you're not able to step up to the occasion and help them out, that's not good. That doesn't bode well for a team that has playoff aspirations. I mean, they were definitively first place in the NFC East for a few weeks there, here and there, and like they had an opportunity to go on a tear and just seal the division away early. And they allowed Philly to go on their winning. Or they had allowed Philly to go on the winning streak, but Philly got onto a winning streak. They started getting hot, and Commanders, they started to falter. They started to waver, and before you know it, the Eagles had caught up right up to them. They faced off, and the Eagles have straight up flown past them at this point. So now, when I talk about the Kingsbury effect, you guys know what I talk about when I mention the Kingsbury effect. Head coach, Texas A&M, head coach for Arizona Cardinals, always had great first half seasons, but then the second half of the season, things proceeded to fall apart. Now, for the Commanders, Cliff Kingsbury is the offensive coordinator. He's not the head coach, but it's pretty interesting that things seem to be boding that way, which is why I call it the aforementioned effect name. But the Commanders, they still have a chance here. They still have a chance to get right. Their schedule gets a little bit easier for the rest of the year. I can't remember fully. Commanders fans, let me know in the comments down below of how right or wrong I am about that statement. But, I mean, there's an opportunity here for them to finish out strong, make the playoffs, and go on from there. I think making the playoffs overall would be a massive success for the Commanders because no one really thought that they were going to be any good and be where they are right now. So, for Commanders fans, this loss sucks really bad, but look, you guys are already exceeding expectations, and at this point, I mean, you guys are going to make the playoffs more than likely, barring some crazy collapse, like if the team continues to lose games, which I don't think is going to happen. They're a well-coached football team for the most part, and for all of them, I think the Commanders are going to be mostly okay. Hope that doesn't come back to bite me at some point. Next up on our list, I want to take a sip of water real quick. It's currently 11:11 p.m., recording really late. I forgot to mention, if you haven't noticed, my football that I use for decoration on the show is not here with me. Take a short break from football, kind of refresh my voice. If you can see right here, this is a picture of me as a little kid and one of my dogs. His name was Bailey. He was a little Chihuahua. Obviously, Bailey's no longer Well, I shouldn't say obviously, because you guys wouldn't know. But Bailey's no longer with us. He lived to be 15 years old. Absolute. That dog was a dog. Not only was he the most kindest, lovable dog, he was so friendly. And for a Chihuahua, this dude didn't bark. This dude was chill as an ice cube in a freezer. The only time he barked was the obligatory knock on the door. That was it. He didn't bark at the TV. He didn't bark at other dogs. Like, he was just as cool as a cucumber. This bro was chilling. But all of that to say that from now on throughout the episode, or for every episode going forward, I think I'm going to start putting different things on here, whether it's photographs, objects. I'm going to start putting sentimental things on the table that mean something to me. So, whether it's like something important, like an object, or a friend, a family member, or a brother, like Bailey. All these people, all these things get me to where I am today. So to give them the love and give them the appreciation for pushing me and for giving me the drive to get me here where I am today, couldn't do it without all the great things that have happened to me in my life. I'm a very, very lucky man. But we got to continue on with the NFL insane recap. The Patriots and the Miami Dolphins win 34-15. Dolphins dominating the New England Patriots on their way to 3 straight wins. And now it begs the question of them being a second half resurgence team. Here's the thing with Miami. You beat a tough Rams team on Monday Night Football. Huge. You go up against the Raiders at home. Bad football team. You drop 34 on them. Huge. You look like yourself for the first time all year. Then you got a divisional opponent who's been playing pretty well offensively. Thought they'd match up a little bit better against a bad Dolphins defense. They win 34-15. Huge. How does this happen? Tua. Tua's back, and he is playing like Tua Tagovailoa. 70% completion percentage, mind you. 317 yards, 4 touchdowns. Running game still having hiccups. Wasn't really the best game for Devon Achane. He did catch 2 touchdowns, though, so overall, that's fine. And then Jalen Waddle, 8 catches, 144 yards, a touchdown, having a huge, huge, huge day for him. And then Jonnu Smith. Jonnu Smith had 9 catches for 87 yards and a touchdown. 15 catches over the last 2 games, 18 over 3 during their 3-game run. If they really want to go on a run and really, kind of make a playoff push at the end of the year and make a case for it, they're going to need more production out of their, lesser-known receivers, lesser-known threats. Because the offense has been always about Tyreek Hill, Jaden Waddle, and then Devon Achane and Raheem Mostert running the football. Raheem Mostert's still hurt, obviously, I think. Right? Is he still hurt? I haven't looked at the box score. I can't even remember. Devon Achane's running back 1 for them right now, so sure, and he's getting the bulk of the carries. But continuing on, they need guys like Jonnu Smith. They need guys like that to really step up and take some of the weight off of Tua, take some of the weight off of Hill and Waddle and Achane, so they have a more complete and balanced unit. Because when you look at the best offenses in the NFL, what do they do best? They distribute the ball well, and they're balanced all around. They can run the ball well, they can throw the ball well, and when they throw the football, every receiver is getting involved. They're all making plays, and you're getting production from multiple different players. But speaking of Tyreek Hill has fallen off a cliff. He had like 25 yards in this game, or no. He had 40 something yards in this game. Excuse me, sorry. But where has he been? I after every game, I look at the box score and I look at the stats, and it's like, where the heck has this dude been? Now, to be fair, I haven't watched a bunch of Miami Dolphins games this year, so I don't know if he's getting open a bunch, he's not getting the ball. I have no idea why he's not getting as many touches as he normally does, and why his production is so down. But along with the backup players and the lesser known players like Jonnu Smith, not only do they have to step up if the if the Dolphins want to go on a run here to push for the playoffs, Tyreek Hill's got to be able to step up and play too. Because at this point, we got the same issue. Now you got Jonnu Smith playing well and Jalen Waddle playing well, but now Tyreek Hill is not playing well. So you need him to step up too. Because without Tyreek Hill, this offense, it's not going to get it done. It's not going to get done when it needs to get done. The offense performs at its best when Hill and Waddle are running all over the field. Now, I'm not saying like, oh, Tyreek Hill with only 45 yards is falling off a cliff. It's that over the past month plus or so, he has not put a really good game together. He's played solid games, but he hasn't had that great explosive vintage Tyreek Hill game yet. Even in the first game of the year against Jacksonville, he had like 100 yards, which is awesome. But he hasn't had that dominant game where he's just, no matter what time of day it is, no matter what time of the game it is, he could catch a ball and run it to the house. And we haven't seen that from Tyreek Hill, which is very disappointing for Miami. But defensively, if you want to end on a positive note, you had a clean performance. You had 4 sacks, got an interception, and you slowed down the Patriots running game, which has kind of been their bread and butter, for better or for worse. You contained the pass when you could. It was a very clean performance from the Miami Dolphins defense, I thought. And for a defense that really hasn't been all that good, in my opinion, this year, you needed it. The Patriots aren't very good, but any win, whether truly a win or not, it's a win in the National Football League. And for the Patriots, you got to be, if you're a Patriots fan right now, all you're watching this year is Drake May, who played fine. He had 222 yards, had a touchdown, had the pick, of course. But despite the running game not doing its job and pass catchers not being great, what I really liked, what I'm seeing from Drake May is not only is he doing a lot of the little things right, what he struggled a lot with at North Carolina when he was in college, he's distributing the ball really well. You see a bunch of players, not making a bunch of big numbers, but it's going to where it needs to go for a certain play. He's reading plays really well for the most part, with the occasional boneheaded interception. He's not making a bunch of big mistakes. He's not playing like a traditional rookie would, where it's up and down, up and down. And sure, there has been some up and downs here and there for Drake May, but it's a lot more grounded, I believe. I think it's a lot more consistent and clean than I think a lot of people expected. When Drake May was drafted, I thought that if he was going to play at all this year, I thought he wouldn't be very, very good, because he was a very raw prospect. I should say very, very raw. But looking at, some of the flaws that he had, especially in his last year at North Carolina, it was kind of iffy. Like, he was definitely the most, projecty quarterback out of the top 3 with Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels, and then him. But he's playing well for the most part. He played fine in this game. And concluding on to the Miami Dolphins back again, we'll finish off with them here with the same question. Are they a second-half team? I'm not so sure yet. Because while you can say, yes, you beat a good Rams team. That's huge. You beat the Raiders at home. Bad football team. Look like yourself for the first time all year. Huge. Beat a divisional opponent. Whoop on them. Huge. While all those games from Miami are huge, and that's definitely how they're going to look at it, you could also look at it the other way as, look, you beat up on 2 bad football teams, which are clearly better than. You have a better roster, better coach, better coaching staff in general, better organization. There's many reasons. Literally, the Dolphins do almost everything better than the Patriots and the Raiders. And then the win on the Monday Night Football against the Rams, that's a good win. I'm not going to take anything away there. But, schedule, I think it's a little bit tougher for Miami. I can't remember completely, but you got December, and we all know what December Miami looks like over the past couple of years. Things don't bode well. So I'm not very sure that they're going to be that second half resurgence team, which we haven't seen yet. We really haven't had a team emerge yet. And they're right now, they're kind of like the default candidate, because they've won 3 straight at this point. Every other, bad football team, 4 wins and below, 5 wins and below are kind of, up and down. They're kind of rising into the mid category at this point in time. They're not good yet, but they're mid. They're no longer bad. So that improvement is good. But as I said, knowing that how Miami gets later on in the year, it's not really encouraging. And then you look at, the Broncos won today. We'll talk about that later on. The Chargers got a win last week. They're both up to 7 wins, and they've kind of been like the shoehorned 6th and 7th seeds in the playoffs with, 4 playoffs 1 through 5, kind of set in stone at this point. And with them getting up to 7 wins and kind of asserting themselves as the playoff, as playoff teams potentially, the Chargers are a playoff team. The Broncos, who knows? Yet I'm not really I'm not 100% sold on them just yet. But, they're going to need some help. If they're going to get into the playoffs, they're going to need to go on the run that they need to go on, but they're going to need some help to get in. And I just don't think the odds are very much in their favor. We'll have to see, though. We still got plenty of football left. Maybe I can be, proven wrong. By the way, fourth quarter, 3:31 to go, at least on my screen right here. The Eagles still winning 30-14. Looks like they are going to win this football game, although something crazy might happen. Who knows? We'll see. We're keeping a track of it. But moving on to to the Chiefs at the Carolina Panthers. Chiefs win 30-27, escaping with the win in Charlotte, hitting a game-winning field goal and some vintage Mahomes magic. I did not see this one coming. I had made a joke, or tried to make a joke, last week on episode 24, previewing this game, and I was like, oh, I smell an upset with this one, and I couldn't say it with a straight face because it was so unbelievable. And then I even put it in the thumbnail. Kind of had, Washington. I had Kansas City and Carolina had their logos kind of like peeking off the screen a little bit, which gave me good inspiration for a new thumbnail. So after, you guys are watching this video right now, you saw the thumbnail. Hope you guys like it. However, I did not see this one coming. And as I was watching, the games I was watching, whatever, the score ticker's on the bottom, and I saw the score tied early in the game. Fine, whatever. And then the scores for both teams kept getting higher. It kept getting higher, and it kept on getting. They were close. It was close. It was close over and over again. I was like, what the heck is happening here? How are the Carolina Panthers going after it, going toe to toe with the Kansas City Chiefs? Who are a top 5 team in the NFL right now? How? Well, here's the thing. I'll tell you how. Defensively, you sack Mahomes 5 times. That obviously the disruption is going to help. And you tackle well for the most part, outside of the last run here, which we'll talk about in a second. But, they played it mostly disciplined as much as they could. You're going up against Patrick Mahomes. So, that's not really, that's a high bar to reach. But, they did well enough, I thought. And then you look at Bryce Young offensively. He had his best game of his career, best game of the year at this point. Probably, like I said, the best game of his career. 263 yards. He had a touchdown. Very solid. And even when Chuba Hubbard wasn't having his best day, he had like 2.5 yards a carry. He had only like 50 yards. And then you look at David Moore, who stepped up. He had 6 for 81 yards and a touchdown. Unfortunately, Jatavion Sanders, the rookie tight end out of Texas, for them, who's been really, really impressing, he's out with a neck injury. I don't know how long that injury is going to be, but I hope he gets better very, very soon. But that's kind of how you go toe-to-toe with Mahomes. Look, the Chiefs' offense played its best game all year. And the Panthers' defense, while it really hasn't been that good, they just had a good game plan. And, in the NFL, it's any given Sunday. That's just another, part of the analysis is that any given Sunday, anything can happen. I talked about that earlier in the show, how you never know what's going to happen next. No one knew. I don't think anybody, not even Panthers fans themselves, could have guessed that they were going toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes. And it took a last second 30-yard touchdown run by Mahomes to set up a game-winning field goal for them to win. This is a game that 9 times out of 10 the Chiefs are whooping them. Up and down the field, doesn't matter. The Panthers have no shot. But today the Panthers had a shot. They had a shot to win here, and ultimately they didn't come out with it because the Chiefs are just a better football team. That one I don't think anyone's going to argue. But I'm going to give the Panthers a lot of credit here. Their season's not going the way it's going either, but you can still see the players, they still have some fight. They're still going after it. They're still trying to win football games. And just like when I talked about with Tennessee, head coach Dave Canales, you can hear it in his press conferences. You can hear it in the post-game, in the victory speeches, all 3 of them so far this year. You can tell that the players want to win. You can tell that they believe in the process. They believe that they're getting better. And you know what? They are. Just like with Tennessee, the past 3 weeks offensively, the Panthers have been putting good games together. And for your number 1 overall pick, Bryce Young, that's huge. For building your culture, for Dave Canales, that is huge. What is appearing on my screen? Something just popped up on my screen and left it. What the heck was that? It wasn't even a notification. It just kind of went on my screen. Did I hallucinate it? Am I going crazy right now? I'm so sorry. I don't know what the heck that was. That was very interesting. However, the Panthers, this is a really good, really good. They didn't win, but this is a really good culture game for them. Even though they lost, to say that you went toe-to-toe with the Kansas City Chiefs and you had a chance to win this game, that says a lot from how far your team has gone. And as I said, even though it hasn't reflected in the win column, this team is showing that they're getting better and that they're improving. And while I don't know if they're going to be playing spoiler anytime this year, for the most part, I think as long as you continue to see Bryce Young improve, get better, you see this offense overall get better, and you see the defense just kind of play a little bit more clean than they have been over the course of the season, you can definitely feel encouraged about going into next year and knowing that you might have the right pieces in place after all, for sure. Moving on here, the Bucs defeating the New York Giants 30-7, coming off the bye week for Tampa, and healthier and better en route to explosive destruction, and the Giants continue to be a clown show. Stay tuned for the end of this one. Baker Mayfield starting with the winning team, 24 of 30, 294 yards. Did not have a touchdown, though, but he didn't need to because Bucky Irving, huge, had a touchdown. Rashad White had a touchdown. A couple others had a touchdown. They've had 4 rushing touchdowns on the game. And the reason why I said explosive destruction was because they literally just destroyed this Giants defense. Completely, utterly destroyed them. Look, they ran the ball for over 160 yards on the ground. Bucky Irving had a huge 56-yard run, which, by the way, Baker Mayfield was the lead blocker. Here comes Bucky Irving starting to run down the middle of the field. Next thing you know, Baker Mayfield comes into frame, and he is running stride for stride with them, throws a block down, and you can see why Baker Mayfield is such a lovable player and why he was drafted number 1 overall, because the kid's got hard. He doesn't have the strongest arm. He's not the fastest, most athletic guy, but the kid's got hard. I mean, there's no way around it. Watching Baker Mayfield play football is fun because he cares. You can tell he cares, and he wants to win so freaking bad. And guess what? He can put this team on his back and can carry this football team. But guess what? He didn't really have to today because the running game was really, really good. But in the passing game, everybody was explosive. Look at this. Mike Evans, 5 catches, 68 yards. Bucky Irving had a really huge catch in this game. Cade Otton, 1 catch for 30 yards. Raheem Jarrett, 1 catch for 30 yards. Payne Durham, 1 catch for 26 yards. Trey Palmer, 1 catch, 18 yards. Then there was a 1 catch, 14 yard, 1 catch, 11, 1 catch, 10. Almost every throw from Baker Mayfield went for first downs. It's insane. It's absolutely insane how much explosion they got out of this team. And honestly, I figured they'd manhandle the Giants. I thought they'd whoop them, right, considering how bad the Giants are. But I didn't think it would be that explosive, if I'm being honest. Like 30-6, that's a butt whooping, but it felt worse than 30-6. They beat the ever-living daylights out of this defense. And then for the Bucs defense themselves, they had themselves a day. The Giants starting Tommy DeVito, they got pressure all game long. They got 4 sacks. And for New York, they just quit. You could tell that they just gave up. They quit. And for the Giants, your big takeaway is that, hey, Tyrone Tracy had 9 carries, 42 yards. He played well, 4.7 yards a carry. You should have given him the ball more. I don't know why they didn't, but that's why they are how they are right now. That's why they're so freaking bad. Then Malik Neighbors, he continues to impress. He had some really nice athletic catches that were bad throws from Tommy DeVito, kind of bailed him out a little bit. Had some nice back shoulder throws. And then Theo Johnson, even though he only had 3 catches for 39 yards, I believe, he's been a solid chain mover for them. Every time I've watched highlights of the Giants, I always see Theo Johnson making a play or two and, getting a first down or getting solid yardage. And he was a really good tight end coming out of Penn State. And I remember watching his tape because he's big, but he's also quick. He's also smart too. He can find these little holes in his zone and just catch the ball and then gain some yak. He's not a big blocking tight end, although he is big side. He can block. He's not a Kittle type of guy, I don't think, but he's definitely a shifty, very mobile tight end,
and could be. He reminds me a lot of Evan Ingram in that sense, kind of like a bigger Evan Ingram. I don't know if that comparison makes any sense, but that's who it kind of reminds me of. And so for the Giants, you look at their young core that they got, especially with their, you look at the rookies. All of these guys are rookies, and they're making plays. They're impressing. And so that's something that for the Giants, it looks good. You like it, despite everything else being awful. And when continuing being awful, the Giants last week, they released Daniel Jones officially. He clears waivers. Yeah, he clears waivers tomorrow on Monday. You guys will be seeing this on Monday. He'll be officially a free agent, so he'll get to go wherever he wants to go. But look, how do you screw up a benching? They benched Daniel Jones. How do you screw this up? You just got to bench Daniel Jones and say you're going in a different direction. That's all you got to do. Just do some PR coach speak and call it a day. But no, you know what happened? Not only did they bench him, they sent him to the third string, which already, what is that? And then, next thing you know, he's on the practice squad being a scout team safety. What are we doing, Giants? What are we doing over there in the organization for the New York Giants? What are we doing here? How do you botch that? How do you botch it so bad that players are anonymously coming out and saying that that was a bad decision? Did Daniel Jones need to be benched? Probably. He was still your best quarterback, and he has not been playing good. He's not a good NFL quarterback as a starter. I'm sorry, he's not. But either way, when you got players coming out and calling out the organization for how they're treating him, and then he gets released, and then almost every single Giants player that's been there for the past 3+ years making posts on social media thanking Daniel Jones, there's no doubting that Daniel Jones is a great teammate. He's always been a great teammate. But Jesus Christ, like, how do you treat a simple, trivial thing so bad that you still manage to I almost said a bad word. Well, not a bad word, but a word that I still don't want to say on the show. How do you still manage to upset the locker room? How do you still manage to do that, dude? Like, only the New York Giants can do something so bad. And at this point, you need to start all over. You need to just get rid of all your coaches. Just at this point, Brian Daboll too, let him go. Sorry, like, at this point, you just got to restart from the beginning. And I wish, like, the Giants could, like, get a new front office too, which is the big issue. Sorry, mouth getting dry. But what do you do here? What's happening here? Why are the Giants so bad? And it's so disappointing because I talked about the rookies on offense. They're getting value out of them. They look good. They're impressing despite everything happening around them. This defensive line is so talented, yet it seems to be so inconsistent. Then you look at the secondary. Deonte Banks is I think he's a rookie too, if I'm not mistaken. But I mean, you look at all these late round rookie corners, they're doing well. So like, what is happening here? You just need to just get rid of it. Just burn it all and just restart from the beginning, because it is getting really, really sad watching so many like good things happen for this team on paper and in a couple instances on the field, but it's not translating to anything. And all it's doing is just getting worse and worse and worse and worse as this organization continues to be an absolute clown show. Absolute clown show. No way around it. So disappointing. Current update on the game, by the way. Eagles up 37-20 with a minute to go. Eagles are going to win this game. Stay tuned for next episode coming out Wednesday for me to talk about it. However, we got to move on to our next game on the list. How many games do we have left? We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 4 games to go, guys. We're almost there. Next up, the Lions defeating the Indianapolis Colts 24-6. Lions stomp all over the Colts. They secure their second straight 10-win season. Is that the first time in franchise history that's happened? I don't know. I can't remember. Lions fans, let me know in the comments down below. Would appreciate that a lot. But for the Lions, Jared Goff, 26-36, 269 yards. He had no touchdowns in the game. Fine. He continues to be efficient. And I've seen that there's a narrative going around right now. Oh, Daniel Jones. Sorry. Oh, I just moved my table. What am I doing here? Oh, I'm completely out of whack. At this point, my camera's probably off sync. Well, if you guys see something different, or it looks off-centered, I'm sorry. I just screwed that up. Well, the show must go on, right? It must go on. Jared Goff there's been a narrative going around these past couple weeks like Jared Goff is like he's just a game manager and he's being carried by his football team. Shut up. What are you talking about? First off, there's nothing wrong with being a game manager because if you're being a game manager, that means you're not playing safe football, you're playing at a high level. But Jared Goff is not a game manager. You look at his completion percentage and you look at what he's doing and you watch the games, this man is a machine. He's an absolute freaking machine. Automatic. You can look at Jared Goff. He is more likely to complete a pass than like a receiver is to drop it. Like, I don't know like what to compare it to. But when Jared Goff goes to throw, you can almost guarantee that he is going to find an open receiver. Almost all the time. This dude is a machine. Like, it's going beyond the levels of just a simple game manager. He is literally just, like, he is steering the ship. Like, he's steering the ship, rowing. Like, he's doing everything. This ship is just moving. He makes the offense look like it's just moving on, like, calm waters. When in reality, most offenses go through rough waters. He's making it look so goddamn easy to play quarterback that I'm surprised that he's not getting praise for it. And he's getting bashed for it. So the narrative that Jared Goff is a game manager, shut up. No, he's not. He's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL right now with how he's playing. Sorry, I'm taking efficiency over stats any day. Because not only is he putting up good numbers in his own right, but also you look at his efficiency and it's through the freaking roof, dude. But not every quarterback can be that efficient. And how you get to be that efficient? Truly, you need to have your players around you be good. Jahmyr Gibbs, 21 carries, 90 yards, 2 touchdowns. Great performance. David Montgomery, he had a touchdown in this game. He got hurt at some point. Hope he's okay. But Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, productive. Tim Patrick, 4 catches, 55 yards. I'm so happy for Tim Patrick, dude. I'm so happy that despite everything, all the injuries he's gone through, 2 straight years of missing football, and then he comes back at the end of last year for Denver, plays okay. They let him go, and later, midway through the year, they pick up Tim Patrick, and he's been making plays for him here and there. And so to see him playing and to see him doing stuff in the NFL still, I'm so happy for him. It's a great story, seeing how much he's overcoming adversity and still doing what he does best and doing what he loves. I'm just so happy for Tim Patrick. It's an awesome, awesome thing, and why the NFL is so freaking awesome. That's why sports are awesome in general. Stories like this are what make the game so much fun and so enjoyable to see. And for the Lions, continuing on though, the Lions defense, they really didn't get much of a pass rush, which the Colts offensive line is pretty solid, pretty good, so that's to be expected, but they really limited this offense for Indy. Anthony Richardson was 11 for 28, 172 yards. Sure, he had 10 carries or 61 yards, but when the only other form of rushing attack was Jonathan Taylor, and he had 11 for 35, that's simply not going to get the job done. It's hard to say you ran the football well because your running back didn't really do anything, and you really didn't give the ball to anybody else other than Anthony Richardson, who's doing Anthony Richardson things. That's not a good day running the football, in my opinion. Even though, sure, you had almost 100 yards as a team, yeah, only 2 people getting rushing yards, that's not going to get it done. But Michael Pittman was great. He had 6 catches for 96 yards. He's seems like he's back in rhythm, a little bit more healthier now. And then for Alec Pierce, he continues to be, an explosive threat for them. He had 1 big 39-yard catch in this game, and he's been a recipient of multiple 60-yard touchdowns this year for them. And the Colts defense, I thought they challenged this offense a little bit. Now allowing 24 points compared to what it's been, obviously, that's great. And 24 points overall, like, if it was against another team, I'd probably say, hey, they really didn't play so good. But considering what the Lions offense has been doing this year, they challenged them. They made it a little bit difficult. They made them earn every point that they got for the most part. So for that situation, that's a plus. I don't know if it's going to get any better, but just for this game, it was positive. It was encouraging to see that they were able to do something relatively right over there on that side of the football. And for the Colts, their season is over. I don't believe in what the Colts are doing right now this year. But look, You get a chance to develop Anthony Richardson properly. You let him to go out there, play the games, just learn and improve where he can. Barring he does something stupid again, like taking himself out of a play. God, that was absolutely terrible. But you at least get to see, and as I said, you get to see Anthony Richardson continue to improve and develop, and maybe next year you can see year 3 take a significant jump, not some crazy jump, but at least take a jump where he's actually playing well consistently, and maybe go on from there. And for the Lions, they're on a roll, and at this point, who is going to stop them? I did it a couple times this episode, and never really did it before. And something about me is I don't really look at schedules in the future very much, because I'm more of a talk about the game as its own entity, and then kind of talk about the encompassing narratives around each team afterward. That's kind of been my MO. I'm not a big future guy, if that makes sense. That we save that for the off season. We save the future is for the off season. It's in the future, and then we talk about the future. Then the NFL is in the present. We talk about that now. So we talk about the games now and the narratives around each team that are happening now. Does that make sense? Yes, that makes sense. But for the Lions, looking ahead in 3 weeks, they face the Buffalo Bills. Mark this one on your calendars now, because this might be the best game of the year. This has insane game of the year potential. I don't even think it's a primetime game either, which with the NFL being able to flex any game this year, if this game isn't flexed to prime time, I'm sorry, that's a massive L by the NFL. So hear me right now, NFL, make this game prime time, please. Literally 2 of the best teams in the NFL going at it. Oh my God, that's a potential Super Bowl matchup there too, which, ooh, guess what happens? Almost every Super Bowl matchup we get, those 2 teams usually faced off in the regular season at some point, which I've grown to notice. So I don't know, something to keep an eye on and something to keep looking forward to. But if you're a Broncos fan, you're looking forward to a potential playoff berth, because you beat the Raiders 29-19, and they assert themselves as a playoff contender officially. I'm not going to be 100% sold in on the Broncos just yet, but at this point, they're pulling away, because the next closest team behind them is the Dolphins at 5-6. And Bo Nix, he had 273 yards, 2 touchdowns. He looks so much better than what he did at the beginning of the year. Like, looking at him now and looking at him then, it's just night and day. Beginning of the year, he was running around, he was scared, he was uncomfortable in the pocket, making bad decisions, and now he looks like one of the more solid quarterbacks in the league. He's not playing like at an absolutely incredible level, but he's playing really, really well. Very consistent, very clean football. He's not turning the ball over nowhere near as much as he was at the start of this year. And looking at what the Broncos and what Bo Nix has been doing recently, and then you look at what Jaden Daniels has done in this 3-game skid, there's an official argument now that maybe Bo Nix deserves to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Like, he's kind of been in the conversation over the past month and a half or so, and Jaden Daniels has kind of been the favorite. And I'm sure Jaden Daniels is still technically the favorite because of overall what's been going on. But, I mean, Bo Nix deserves to, have an argument made for him. Right now, I mean, he's leading all rookie quarterbacks in every major passing category. He's been nothing but he's been everything that the Broncos were hoping he'd be. And the Broncos have just shattered expectations. I thought a lot of people thought they'd be bad, including myself. I had them winning only 4 games. But, I mean, they're just getting good offensive production now. And, running the football for them has been very inconsistent. It's been very bad for the most part. The leading rusher was, can't remember his first name. His last name was McLaughlin. He had 7 carries for 44 yards, which pretty solid performance in its own right, but nothing really else past that. Could you imagine what this Broncos team would look like with Ashton Genty at running back? Not only does the Bronco to Bronco, correlation make that really cool, but I mean Sean Payton, the head coach, has never really had like that bell cow back. Like, he had Reggie Bush, he had Pierre Thomas, which were a good duo. He had Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara's a bell cow back, like he can be, but he's always been like, a good pass catcher out of the backfield. He's been a dual threat guy. But Ashton Genty, he is a bell cow, run it up the middle back through and through. So having that element of an offense, which the Sean Payton's offense already is physical, can kind of punch you in the mouth, even though it's kind of more pass heavy. having that like same mentality in the backfield with the running back that could carry it 20 times a game, that's huge. Like that would be so much fun. That'd be such a fun thought. Imagine that. Like imagine what that would look like. This Broncos offensive line that's continuing to improve. You add a couple pieces and it gets better. Oh my god. You could be looking at something really, really fun to watch over there. Not to mention Bo Nix, he's got wheels. He can run himself too. So, ooh boy, that sounds incredible. But moving on though, continuing on with the Broncos offense, Cortland Sutton, he had 9 from 97. He's having a bounce back year, and he's proven why, he's still one of the better wide receivers in the NFL. And people over the past couple of years have kind of written him off because of bad quarterback play. He really hasn't done all that much. And then now, I mean, he's back in the I understand the top echelon of wide receivers, but he's notable. Like you can look at Denver and say, yeah, they got Cortland Sutton. He's a good freaking receiver, and for him, it's huge. Davuche Vele, I can't remember that first name. I'm sorry, I'm probably butchered the heck out of that. He had 6 catches for 80 yards. I don't really know who the guy is. I really haven't seen his name until now. But hey, he stepped up today in this game. Huge. I'll still give you the shout out and give you the respect that you deserve. And defensively, you get 5 sacks. You get an interception off of Gardner Minshew. And which the defense has been the highlight of this team. They're one of the best units in the NFL outright, going up against a bad Raiders team. And moving on to the Raiders, in that fact, looking at Gardner Minshew, quarterback, he was more of the same. He got hurt in this game. That sucks. Ritter had to step in and recover while Aiden O'Connell is still injured. And the best thing that happened in this passing game was A.J. Cole having a fake punt go for 34 yards. Okay, just kidding. Maybe not that much. It was still a great play, but not the best thing. Jacoby Myers, 10 catches, 121 yards. Trey Tucker had 7 catches for 82 yards, so that's good for them. In a game where Brock Bowers really wasn't a factor in this game, they kind of sold out to stop him, and that allowed for other players to step up. And they also had a 59-yard kick return too. I saw that, which was really cool, really nice for them. The Raiders are just another team where you can see players checking out. You can see that they're just not really wanting to be there. I mean, they're still competitive. Like, they're still trying to... You can still they're trying to win. But at this point, the players pounded the table for Antonio. Yeah, Antonio Pierce, not Antonio Smith. Antonio Pierce to be the head coach of this football team. He's appointed as the head coach, and it's just been all bad. And I really wasn't sure about the hire at the start when they did it, because I don't know, like he was, was he the defensive coordinator or offensive coordinator? I can't remember. He was a coordinator, got elected into the role at the end of last year, and he's always been a players guy. He can rally players. It's kind of been his thing, but so far, I mean, the team really just hasn't been that good, and you need a good head coach. And I don't know if Antonio Pierce is that right now. And at this point, I don't know if they're going to roll with him for another year. They might. We'll just have to see. But for the Raiders, I mean, they're not making the playoffs. It's not happening. This season's over. Players are kind of the faith is starting to waver. It looks like when you watch them play. I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on in Las Vegas right now, but things can definitely seem a little bit better. Moving on, for a team that is getting better, the Seattle Seahawks beating... What am I talking about right now? What is happening? This week is crazy. I'm just going on tangents after tangents. I think this is one of my best shows I've ever had. In terms of passion and really talking about the games, this is one of my best episodes. I'm loving talking right now. Despite my voice kind of drying out, and you can tell the kind of the bass right here in my throat, I don't really call it bass, but kind of like that rasp is getting there. Like I can feel it. I'm still going at it. I don't really care. Like I'm having a great time. By the way, Philly beat the Rams 37-20. Huge win for Philly as they continue on their super long winning streak. I think that's 7 games now that they've won. Good for them. But for the Seahawks, they win 16-6 over the Arizona Cardinals, winning an ugly game, retake first place in the division. The Cardinals, I knew they were coming off the bye, but I picked Seattle to win because they got a huge win over the Rams last week. And being at home, I thought that they matched up well here, and they did. And why did Seattle win? Because their defense came to play. This has been the narrative for the Seahawks all year long. Their offense is going to get it done. You want to listen to this? I don't know if you can hear this. Going way off topic here. There's air forming in my water bottle somehow. And I'm going to open it. Oh, sometimes when that happens, you open it, you kind of hear like a psh, kind of hear like the air release. But that was very anticlimactic and ended up being a huge waste of time. I am sorry. But the narrative for the Seahawks all season long is they win games when their defense comes to play. They win games when their defense comes to play. They had 5 sacks. Kobe Bryant had a huge pick 6 in this game. Miraculous play. And Regino Smith, more of the same. 254 yards. Had a touchdown pass. Did throw an interception in this game, which wasn't great. But the team can't run the football despite everything they're doing in the passing game. They cannot run the football consistently very, very well, which stinks. Another team that Ashton Genty could go to and really, really solidify this offense and make it really, really good. But other than JSN, 6 catches, 77 yards, touchdown. I've talked about him enough. He's been great. He's emerged as one of the top slot receivers in the NFL. And DK Metcalf, I just want to talk about DK for a second because he really hasn't had very many big games. But unlike a receiver like Tyreek Hill, who's kind of been quieter this year, DK has still been very consistent. Normally with DK Metcalf, he has these insane big games and then he'll have like a 2-catch game right after it. But DK Metcalf, even though he hasn't had the big games all the time, JSN is especially really recently has kind of taken that spot over. DK Metcalf is still playing consistent. He's getting 50, 60 yards a game. And even though, like I said, he's not getting these big games, his games where he's not, he's still pretty solid and effective, which is really good for him. And I'm happy for DK. He's a very insane talent. So to see that, improvement from him, I wanted to recognize that. I wanted to show DK some love, show him some recognition, because throughout his career, like I said, it's been up and down. So to see that improvement, it's been really, really good for them. And they're going to need it as they continue to try and make their push for the playoffs and win the NFC West. And defensively, I already talked about defensively for Seattle, sorry. Moving on to the Cardinals, though. Kyler Murray had 287 yards. The interception wasn't great. It was terrible. But the thing here is that they couldn't run the football. I don't know if James Carter got hurt. He had like a few carries and had like 8 yards. I can't remember. I don't know why that happened, why they just completely went away from him. Like I said, I don't know if he got hurt. Cardinals fans, let me know in the comments down below. Let me know about that situation and what's going on. But despite that, Kyler Murray had a good game throwing the football. Trey McBride had 12 catches for 133 yards. He was the kind of the lone bright spot for the Cardinals in this game. But I mean, Trey McBride, he's good. He's a really good tight end, and I haven't really seen much of him play this year. But looking at the highlights and looking at the stats every week when I recap the Arizona Cardinals, he constantly shows up for the most part. I've talked about him a lot, and he's definitely a top 10 tight end in the NFL now. Like, there's no arguing it at this point. He's a really good football player, and as he continues to develop, and as Marvin Harrison Jr. continues to develop, they add some more pieces at receiver around Kyler Murray, and I think you have a good, you have a really good core around your offense, which has been pretty good this year, to say the least. And then you look at defensively, they got 5 sacks and an interception themselves, and, they played well today. They played really well in this game, despite the fact that, they allowed, JSN to go off, and they allowed Geno Smith to do what he does. I mean, the Cardinals played a really good game defensively. Compared to what everything else that they've had this year, they played really well in this game. And that's hoping, Jonathan Gannon, he's a defensive-minded head coach, so his defense should be good, which kind of weird that his offense is better than the defense. Same thing with Dan Quinn and Washington over there with the Commanders. But as I said, it's nice that they're putting that together, because the Cardinals, they need this defense to improve and get better here in the stretch of the year. Because if they want to be the team that wins the division and makes the playoffs, they're going to need their defense to step up. Because look, the Seahawks, their offense is good. Their defense needs to do the same thing. They need to step up and make some plays. Then you look at the Rams, who, they lost tonight against the Eagles, but they're in the, they're still in the thick of it. They're 5-6, lost 2 straight. they're still in it. The 49ers, who we're going to get to in a second, they lost too, but they're still mathematically in it. So, I mean, if there's any time for this team to any of these teams to come together and start playing together and playing the best complementary ball they have all year, now is the time. And for the Cardinals, we're seeing that from them, and then seeing that from Seattle. That's very encouraging for both fan bases, because this division is literally the most tightest I think I've ever seen a division. I don't remember the last time all four teams were in contention for the playoffs this tightly. Not because like they're all good, like the NFC North is, for example, over there, but they're all mid football teams. But at the same time, it's more interesting because they're all right there. Like one loss, one team will jump. When that team will lose, another team will jump. Like, you know, the who has been leading this division, it has been back and forth all year long. And it's going to be very exciting when you get the final game of the year, and the final, whatever game it is, you know, these two teams playing at it, they're going to be going, it's going to be for the division. This division is going to come down to week 18, and I am so excited for that, because the potential there for the meeting to be the final game of the year. Past few years, the final game has been absolutely incredible. And so maybe having the NFC West conclude the NFL's regular season, that's a fun thought. That's a really fun thought. But that's enough of that. We got to move on to our final game on the list. The 49ers losing to the Green Bay Packers 38-10 in Lambeau Field. They got a dominant win over San Fran, who are falling apart, it feels like. Physically, Brock Purdy not in this game, so the backup quarterback, Brandon Allen, goes in, has 199 yards, a touchdown, an interception. The interception wasn't that great, but the thing is, for San Francisco, they got Christian McCaffrey back, but since he's been back, he's been mostly ineffective, and they really kind of turned away from Jordan Mason, who was really explosive for them. So why they're not really going to Mason more, I don't really know, but considering that they need to get their offense back on track, they need to figure something out. And the same thing, too, is, Juwan Jennings and George Kittle have been playing well for them, but Deebo Samuel has been a nothing burger for the most part. He's been very inconsistent, and for the 49ers, you're going to need to get more out of him if you want to go on a run. And, the team is healthy now, offensively for the most part, without Brandon Ayuk. He really hasn't done anything this year anyways when he was healthy, so I guess. I mean, it's still a big, still the big loss. Excuse me, regardless. But, I mean, for the 49ers, they're running out of excuses, because not only are they healthy now for the most part outside of Brock Purdy, but even with Brock Purdy being in there, he hasn't been good enough. And it's just, they need to get more out of their players. They need to get more out of Deebo. They got to get more out of this offensive line that hasn't been great at times. This defense, I wouldn't say they got carved up by Jordan Love, but they got destroyed on the ground by Josh Jacobs. 3 rushing touchdowns. He had 26 carries, 106 yards. And going to Jordan Love, though, he had 163 yards, 2 touchdowns. Didn't play great in this game, but he wasn't bad. He didn't make any bad decisions. He was solid, just clean football, took care of it. And that's all you really want when Josh Jacobs is having a game that he's having. And then, along with the running game, Emmanuel Wilson had 9 carries for 41 yards, which is also a huge boost. And then real quick, I just want to shout out Xavier McKinney. Got his 7th interception of the year. He's having an all-pro season, in my opinion. Absolute baller right now. Another player that escaped the deathly grips of the New York Giants in their terrible organization, just as Saquon Barkley and how he's doing. He had an absolute incredible game tonight against the Rams. But along with Xavier McKinney getting a quick little shout out, I gotta give a shout out to Jeff Hafley, dude. What he's been able to do with his defense in year 1 and turn it around on its ear has been nothing short of incredible. And the Packers, they had Super Bowl aspirations this year, and if they were going to do that, they really needed their defense to step up. And in a lot of ways, and a lot of times, their defense has been better than their offense. When the offense has been slow, it's been the defense that's had to put the team on its back and make some plays, and they have. They really have. And so I think if the team gets better, well, obviously the team gets better. As it continues to improve and get better come playoff time, Jordan Love gets hot. and he starts playing well, really well, like he was at the end of last year, and then you get this defense playing out of its mind, there's a very real possibility the Packers go on a run here come playoff time. And it's all thanks to Jeff Hafley really, really turning this defense around in year one and getting the most out of their star players. But I think other than that, I think that's going to do it. The 49ers, they're in the Super Bowl hangover. There's really not much more to say about that. But I mean, they just need to figure out how to get back on track, because at this point, if they don't, they're going to fall behind, because they're fourth place in the division now. And I don't know. It's tough for 49ers right now. But overall, that is going to do it for me today. What an insane episode. One of the best episodes I think I've ever done. I loved recording this one. This was awesome. But hope you guys enjoy it too. Leave a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts about all the topics I talked about in this game. Or if you want to say hi, just say hello. But other than that, don't forget to do what every YouTuber tells you to do. You guys already know the drill. You gotta like the video. You gotta subscribe to the channel. You gotta share the video. And if you don't want to share it by posting on social media, just tell your friends, tell your family about it. Get everybody locked in and locked on to the Shumake Take podcast, coming out with great videos for you guys twice a week, every Monday and Wednesday at 8 a.m. Last week that didn't happen because YouTube was being a little weird, but that is going to do it for me today. Definitely going up at 8 a.m. this time. I'm going to ensure that it happens. Hey, thanks, guys, for watching. Have a great time. Have a great night. And I will, great day, night, whatever time you're watching this. Really, and you guys have a good one. I'll see you guys next time.